Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Hope everybody's having a great week so far. Hope that you've had a good year. But you know my mantra. No matter what you've gone through, no matter where you at, no matter how dark it may seem, if you haven't gotten the things that you desire and want, if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. Don't you dare quit. Don't you dare give up. Don't retreat. No surrender, no retreat. It's my mantra as well. You have to continue to push forward towards those things you desire and believe in your life. It's not about ease. It's not about comfort. It's not about quickness. It's about consistently. It's about being relentless. It's about refusing to turn around and give up. So I encourage you, no matter where you are in your journey, that if you're still breathing, stand up, square your shoulders, hold your head up, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm built for this. Then keep pushing. I'm telling you from experience, things don't come in the times that we want them to. They come as we work and prove ourselves worthy of the things we demand in life. And the greater the demand on life, the greater the demand in way of process. Don't you dare quit. Okay, today is Wealth Building Wednesday. Um, I love this because I get to talk about things that most people don't talk about. It's amazing how money drives everything, but the talk and conversations around money are taboo. We don't talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. Anybody that starts talking about money, people push them away and talk about that's all they talk about. Well, the thing is, if you don't have people around you that are talking about money, how to manage it, how to increase it, how to grow it, how to build wealth to pass down, then you're not around the right crowd, because money is going to be a part of the facilitating process of you living out your destiny as a provider, as a teacher, as an influencer, as whatever it is you're going to do to make your imprint in this world. Money's going to play a role in it, one way or another. Plus, you are going to be responsible for others at some point in time. If you're a person that's never had to be responsible for anyone for yourself, great. But you still have a responsibility to yourself, not in the vein of greater responsibility, but I would think I would want to live my life in the vein of greater responsibility, understanding that I'm here for more than myself, and in order to do that, there are some things I need to accomplish. Today, we're going to talk about laying the blueprint for wealth building. We're going to do it in the vein of talking about legacy wealth. Legacy wealth is a program I created, man, 5, 6 years ago, maybe longer. I created Legacy Wealth, I believe, in 2015, for the purpose of teaching wealth building principles to people who don't come from backgrounds where it's naturally or inherently understood. And that's most people. Most people are in the mindset of being wage earners, and they're looking for their solution to their financial problems and how much money they can earn. So whether you have a job or whether you own a business, your revenue generation isn't the only mechanism in your wealth building. It's what you do with the money. It's how you protect the money. It's how you make awareness decisions about how you are going to move your money, understanding the difference between money and currency, which is going to be a big issue in the coming years. Understanding the difference between money and currency. Currency is simply a promissory note for money. The thing is, when you are heavy in currency and your currency loses its weight, its value, you lose your wealth. So being cash heavy is not what's up. That's my way of saying that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you about legacy wealth. So I'm going to share with you in the description box is your opportunity to join the Legacy Wealth Program, a 6-month program with a lifetime membership to the Epic Realm community. But I'm going to talk to you about the depth and the value of this program by teaching you how you lay out a blueprint and what you get in this program. Well, first of all, you're going to get more than 10 guides on diversity investment strategies. One of the things you're going to have to learn, which is one of the actual 4 principles that all billionaires practice, is diversification across assets. In other words, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You don't invest so heavily in one thing that if you lose in that thing, it devastates your financial portfolio. But we're going to talk about diversity and investment strategies. The one thing I learned about, what I love about this, is how excited people get when they find out they don't need $10,000 to start investing, $10,000 to own a piece of a company, that you can start with a very small amount and start building and start growing, and you learn at a rate that's facilitated by your growth. So your risk aversion is lessened and lessened as you can take bigger risk as you go on and build. Now, all risk should be calculated, but there's no such thing as investing without risk. So you have to understand that. Next is one-on-one consultation with a trust advisor. Building trust. And I want to take a little time and talk about trust if I can, if you guys will give me a little latitude here. Trusts are a major element and component of being able to really pass down generational wealth. Most people don't understand it. Where I really started to study trust and learn trust was studying John Rockefeller, who, if you add in inflation and the fluctuation in the value of the dollar, was the most wealthiest man ever lived. If he was alive right now, he would be worth more than Bezos and Elon Musk and all of those. If he had the wealth he had then and you converted it to what it's worth now in billions, he definitely was that. But what he did is he decided that he was going to protect his lineage. He was going to protect his progeny. He was going to pass down generational wealth. And what he did, how he did it, is through trust. He created trust for each of his kids. Each of his kids had a trust that they could receive at a certain age. When they reached that age, they received half of what was in the trust. The other half was to be passed down to their children. So, and they were required as a part of the establishing of the trust to create a trust for their children too. So what happened is they received the trust from John Rockefeller. Then they received their half of that trust. The rest of the half was passed on to their progeny. Then they created a trust to pass on their progeny. So their progeny received two different trusts, which they got to take half from and pass down to their children, along with the half that's still coming from the original trust. Now, each trust is consistently being passed down because no trust is being evaporated completely. Each person is getting half of the trust they inherit, and they're passing the next half down to their child or children, and then creating a trust for their child or children themselves. And so each time the Rockefeller initial, we're going to call it the initial Rockefeller, that trust is steady going down, but each child is creating. So as you create and expand, each child is getting more and more and more as it goes down. So this is the way it's done. Now, there's so much to be said about trust because it's not just about that. You need a living trust to protect your estate. Everybody talks about a will. Let me tell you something. A will is good. A will sets out your desires and it lets everybody know how you feel. And it's real good to have it read and all that. But let me tell you something. All you have to do to upset a will and make it null and void and have your estate end up in probate is have one person that's mentioned in that will or that feels that they're a part of the family challenge that will legally. And now we're going to probate. However, if you leave everything in your possession to a trust, and that trust is distributed based on what is set forth in the bylaws of the trust, and the trustee executes that trust, then you don't have that problem. And so you want these type of trusts, and these are the things that the wealthy do consistently to protect their wealth. One of the things I remember reading that Nelson Rockefeller said, and when I read, I'm like, because it's completely opposed and it's diametric to how the average person thinks. We're big about owning stuff and knowing our name is on stuff. You know, it ain't yours if your name ain't on it and all stuff like that. But what he said really caused me to dig deep and understand how they think. And it comes from the dynamic of the trust. Nelson Rockefeller said that the goal is to own nothing and control everything. And basically he's talking about the trust. You don't own it. It's a trust. It's in the name of the trust. It's run by trustees. But he who controls the trust controls everything. But anyway, move on. So the course is also going to be, there's going to be a course on the importance of insurance and wealth building, something we miss again. The course is also going to have a segment on compound growth, tapping into the power of compound growth. We miss that so much. Compound growth is one of the most consistent ways to grow your something like indexing, the Vanguard or the S&P 500. Indexing is an unbelievable way over time to compound and multiply your growth, tapping into the power of compound growth. The average person is doing the reverse. They are being bombarded by compound debt. Most of the things that you look at that you're getting credit has a compound debt mechanism that the longer it takes for you to pay it off, the more you have to pay. And so that's what we're looking. Compound growth is the opposite. You put in something that's compounded on top of the interest it earns, that's compounded. You keep adding, and then the interest keeps adding, and it compounds. And you can find a compound growth calculator online. Just type in compound growth calculator, and you can say how if say for instance, S&P is anywhere from 8.2 to 10%. Most people put it at 10% annually. Right now, it's underperforming slightly, but it's still performing. So I look at it, and it's been consistently 8.2 to 10% forever. So you can just say 8.2 to 10%, put any number you want to in that little range, and then put in how much you're going to put in a month, or put in what you want to see in 20 years, and it'll tell you how much to put in a month. But you put it in a month, and you'll see how it's multiplying, how it's each year multiplying on top of itself. It's compounding on top of itself. It's adding interest to the compounded interest in the growth, and everything is being compounded. It's an unbelievable thing, and we don't do it. We're going to have a course on that. The 10 Commandments of Wealth Building. That's going to be intensive. Passive income, how to create passive income. What is the definition of passive income? What's the difference between passive income, semi-passive income, on and on. Asset protection, one of the biggest things that we don't talk about. Everybody talks about getting money. Nobody talks about how to protect it. Protect it against tax liability, protects against high commissions for investment, protect it against inflation, market collapses, and so many other things. How do you do that? The 7 steps to financial freedom, which is a 7-step guide to simply walking it out. None of this, and let me iterate this real clearly. None of this is a get rich quick scheme. None of this is you're gonna read this and this is about building a new state of existence, a new state of mind, new practices, following a blueprint. You are no different than the people who are recognized as some of the best money people in the world, except they follow the principle. Some of them started at nowhere. Do you realize that one of the most talked about and revered investors of all time is Warren Buffett? You got Ray Dalio, David Swenson, Ron Buffett, John Bogle, and on down the line. But Warren Buffett is one of them. Do you recognize that 99% of his wealth was built after his 50th birthday? It's never too late. But you got to start. You got to be aware. You got to educate yourself. I think it was Jim Rohn who said that winners are the ones who invest in themselves and in their education. You're going to have to educate yourself. The things you don't know. Most of the things that I see, especially when it comes to my people, we don't know how things work. We lose because we don't understand how things work. So we move on what we think. We move on what we know. We act with the flow of our awareness, our history, and our experiences. The problem is if you never experience something, the chance of moving in the flow of your past experiences is not going to produce a new idea. You're going to have to examine new ideas, new thoughts. You're going to have to do it at a level of intensity that shifts how you see things. One of the biggest things that's going to mess with you, and that's a part of this course, is the psychology of money, the psychology of wealth, the psychology of how do you think about money? Because that's going to tell you how. A lot of people don't want to talk money. A lot of people have a view of people with money. They're evil, they're conniving, they're treacherous. And why do they do that? Because number one is that explains why I don't have money, because I can never be evil, I can never be conniving, I can never be treacherous, I can never be unethical. So I'm never going to have money. Well, the truth is, you've got conniving, thieving people who are broke, just like you have highly ethical, good people who give from their heart, who have money. What you got to understand is money only amplifies your character. You've got to work on self regardless of where you are with money. You've got to work on your integrity, your character, how you move, how you act, how you deal with things. You got to be honest with yourself. There's always work for improvement. And so what happens is when you come into money, when you start to build money, when you start to experience the liberation from the weight of not having, You've got to be sure that you don't go out and realize that the only thing that's been stopping you from destroying yourself is not having money. I've seen this over and over again where people, you look at them and go, man, what happened? They got that money. Money just amplified who they were. Money gave them resources to be who they were. Before that, they didn't have the resources. Some people are going to get money and give. Some people are going to get money and build. Some people are going to get money and express love in every way possible. Other people are going to get money and destroy their lives. Other people get money and destroy the lives of other people. Other people are going to use money to express themselves. Money is a means. It's not the end. Money is simply going to give you an opportunity to do what you do. So those are some of the things you got, but we're going to deal with asset protection and all that. We're going to shatter. There's going to be a 9-week course within the 6 months about shattering 9 myths about money, things that you hear all the time that you think. For one, there are a couple, but the big one to me is the $13 trillion lie. Most people who talk about getting into investing and really haven't really truly researched it and understand it go on listening. So one of the big things moving is actively managed mutual funds. The problem is actively managed mutual funds, normally you lose about 96% of the time. There's a 4% win, and it's never the same mutual funds. So that's one of the quickest ways to throw your money away. Passively managed mutual funds indexes 8.2, 10% annually. Obviously, 8.2 and 10% isn't huge. Like, I'm winning, I'm making this, I'm doubling my money, I'm tripling my money in a year, that type of thing. But when you look at how it multiplies, especially the earlier you get started, by the time you're 40, you're good. But if you're not getting started till you're 40, by the time you're 60, you're good. And that's being conservative. But the older you are, obviously, the more aggressive you're going to have to move if you're going to use that mechanism. But again, you should also be planning to pass down some of this. What we have to get to is a point when we're talking generational wealth where we understand it. At some point, you're living on what's passed down to you. What you're building is being passed down to the next generation. So you're inheriting something. You're taking a part of that inheritance and you're passing that down. You're using that rest of that inheritance to live the life you want to live. And the vast majority of what you create during your life is also being passed down to the next generation. You want the generation that follows you to be stronger. You want them to have more access. You don't want them to have to pay to go get a loan to go to college. You don't want to have them go into massive debt to buy their first home. You don't want them having to deal with high interest rates because they can't afford to buy. You want to pass that down. So what it requires is a willingness to say, okay, I can't have everything I want, especially if I'm the initiator of this process. Then I've got to be willing to take a lot of what I'm working for. So we've got that, man. If I work for, I've watched and I've studied this. This is something I've studied significantly in studying the many enigmas that plague the Black community. I'm looking at, okay, what's happening here? Even when we have affluent Black people, why isn't there this building of wealth? Why are we still seeing a widening in the wealth gap? Here's why. We have been taught if I earn it, it's mine. Now, and what happens? Your kids come up, they know what's possible because they've seen you do it. So they come up believing a little bit better than others and more than probably those before you, but they're going to have to go out and get it. They're going to go start from scratch. They're going to get a student loan. They're going to be in debt for the first 10 years minimum of their adult life after college because they went out and got that loan because they bought into the idea that you have to have a degree in order to get on in this world. And they're going to find out that 9 times out of 10, they're going to end up working in the area in which they got the degree, but they're going to go spend a whole bunch of money on that paper so they can put it on the wall. They're not going to realize that it's nothing wrong with having the paper, and there are ways to actually get the paper without actually having to go into debt. There are ways to pay for it. There are ways to do other ways to get it, but they won't ever pursue it because they're going to take the traditional route and they're going to end up. And what we understand about debt, why am I talking about debt so much? Because debt is the number one enemy of wealth. You take all of your assets, that's your gross wealth, everything that you own, what it's worth, your business, your car, your whatever you own, all that stuff, whatever you own that you actually own, that's not financed and owned by some bank. Is your wealth. Now you subtract all your debt from that. That's your net worth. Well, if I'm constantly building debt before I have anything of value, I'm starting in a hole. And then those who already have wealth are starting out with a surplus. And we're wondering why there is this constant widening of the wealth gap, because we're not building for the future. We're living in the moment. Now, I'm not saying that you don't enjoy life, because life's not promised. What I'm saying is there has to be a part of you that says, you know what, I'm going to set a path for those who follow me, not just my kids, but their kids, not just their kids, but their grandkids. I'm going to literally be the person that said it, and I'm going to do it in a way that I can control it after death. A trust. And I have more than one person that you will get to meet and sit down with that will talk to you about building trust, about how to set it up so that you can pass down wealth, how to set it up so that you can operate businesses, how you can find out that an unincorporated business trust is actually in many instances more effective as a tax shelter than a C corporation. But we can talk about all that. But and then how you set your company up. Your company is a part of your net worth. You need to understand all of these different things. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the price of your dreams, the importance of time, and the psychology of success. We're going to do all this in a 6-month course that is less than $1,000. It's $997. You're going to get all of this that I just went over in 6 months. You're going to get access to me ongoing. You're going to get to meet with one of my trust advisors. I have a few. My brother in Dallas is real sharp. He has stayed on it. There's a lot of other things that he's going to talk to us about over time that I cannot mention on here, that the wealthy are aware of and taking advantage of, that we don't know exist. And there's a different way of moving. Again, I'm not going to be selling you anything. I'm not going to be asking you to invest anything. I am going to bring you into this course. I am going to expose you to all this material. I can't tell you how many guides, but it's going to be way more than 10 guides. It's going to be the consultation. It's going to be the multiple courses over time, but it's a lifetime membership into the Epic Realm community of high achievers. These are all people who have worked with me in the past and have now gone on to do great things. That I either worked with them in the past. I was either their counselor, their therapist, their life coach, their life strategist, but I helped them move to the next level in some way. They have come back. We have joined forces. They are a part of this community of high achievers. And what we're doing is we're inviting people in who want to go to the next level. They're going to be advisors. They're going to be confidants. Some of them will become mentors to you. Some of them will sit up and take your advice. This is where you go put your idea on the table. And the one thing you won't hear is it's stupid. Another thing you won't hear is it's not realistic. What you will hear is, okay, let's figure out how to do it. Then we have weekly Q&A sessions, which we will be picking back up at the beginning of the year. Weekly Q&A sessions where you bring your concerns, bring your desires, bring your frustrations, and you get great minds who have experienced success helping you work it out. That alone, to me, is worth it. But you're going to get all of that for the cost of this program. This program now is intensive, and it requires you to actually walk it out. This is no, again, there's nothing that I've achieved worth anything that I just fell into, and it was just it. Now I became so forceful in how I moved. There was a time in my life that the momentum I built was just knocking things down. So I would just go into it and wouldn't even feel some of the things I was moving through, because I was that centered, I was that focused. That there were times I got knocked out my butt. There are times that I have looked up and things are moving slowly. I'm in a growth process with my business now, which is great when you say growth. But when you look at what it costs and what it takes to do it, and that it's all sucking at the same time, you got to be very careful how you manage that. You got to be very aware of what you're doing. And again, it's about management, because cash flow will get you in trouble both ways. Not enough and too much, and not knowing what to do with it. So what I'm telling you is learning all of these principles, learning the importance of protecting your assets, protecting the future of your children. Here's the thing with another thing. While insurance is a great wealth building mechanism on the easy side of understanding it, it's also a way to protect and hide wealth. You ever wonder why wealthy people spend so much on art? It's not that thing is that beautiful and they just gotta have it. It's only so much I can look at something and say it's worth something. It's that they can look at it. What they're going to do is they're going to get it appraised. they are going to then insure it for the appraised value. And what they do a lot of times is they get something that, prime example, what actually got me to look into this years and years, about 30 some years ago, there's this movie called Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, and these billionaires kidnap him because they have this argument. One believes that you're born for the life, or environment creates it. So one believes that you're either going to be that dude or not. The other one believes put in the right environment, anybody can be it. And so they have this ongoing thing. They kidnap Eddie Murphy, and he's a bum on the street. He's, on the street, homeless. And he wakes up and they got him in the house, and he looks around and he starts sticking stuff in his coat because he's like, they say, you don't have to steal it, it's yours. He says, so this is mine. And he picks up a vase, and says, so I can just throw this on the ground. He throws it. And one person says, look, you just broke that. We paid $50,000 for that vase. And Eddie Murphy goes, but the other brother says, but we insured it for 70. And immediately my antenna went off. I don't know how many people else it did, but immediately my antenna went off. Wait a minute. You paid 50 for it, but you insured it. And then I was in the international relocation business in the early 2000s. So I was literally responsible for expatriating and repatriating high-level executives and people with wealth in different parts of the world, bringing them back home, repatriating them. I got to move the guy who was at that time the head of the Houston Orchestra, the conductor of the Houston Orchestra, who was from France. He was retiring and returning to France. I did everything and took all that. So I got to be around a lot of stuff, and a lot of expensive stuff. And so I would ask questions, instead of pretending like, because I got this business and I'm making some real good money, I know everything. I'm like, man, they move different. They think different. So I asked, man, how much you pay for this? And this painting, it looks like a regular painting. You can get some kid to slap some all on and do all that. And he said, I paid 2.3 million for it. And I asked him, what is the deal? He says, that's 2.2 million sitting right in your face. And if somebody steals it, I get paid by the insurance company for the appraised value, which is more. The power of insurance, and we don't use it right. We're going to talk about all these different things. We're going to talk about all these different mechanisms. We're going to talk about the power of doing things in a way that changes your life and the life of your children for generations to come. It's a work in progress for you. It's not, again, I keep wanting to say this because we want magic. We want instantaneous results. I can tell you those things don't exist. What I can tell you is that I've been blessed to be my own boss for years. I've been blessed to build. I've been blessed to do some things. I am still growing. I am still learning. And I want people to learn and grow with me. I want to take everybody to another level. And again, you need to know the price of your vision. You need to know the price of your dream. What do you want? What does it look like? How much does it cost? How fast do you want to get started? All of these things are questions that are going to be asked in this. And I want to challenge you to do this. No, it's not cheap, but it's definitely an extremely valuable opportunity, because I'm telling you that it's 10 times worth what you're paying to get into this. And then it's lifetime access to the network. Remember, I always tell you about your circle. You're going to be the 5 people. You're going to be the average of the 5 people you hang around, spend the most time around. You have to actively construct your circle. You've got to purposely put yourself around people who are winning. People, you need a certain amount of the people in your circle to know more than you, to have done more than you, to have achieved more than you, because they're going to be the ears and the voices of reason and instruction on what you need to do. You need other people who are where you're at with the same passion and fervor and commitment to getting where you're trying to go. So you're going to hold each other accountable. You're going to encourage each other. You're going to fan each other's flames. And you need a few people who are bringing in on your tailwind. Not quite where you're at, but have a passion, look up to you, want to win as badly as you're winning. And those are the people that you're going to literally fuel yourself by helping. These are the people you need in your circle. You need to construct it. The Epic Realm community creates an environment where everybody in there is about winning. I have created this and I monitor all of the conversations within the group. I check in with people. We're going to get back. We're going full steam. We kind of shut down toward the end of the year, but we're going full steam starting the beginning of January. And I can tell you the one rule that is nobody is going to be negative towards anybody. That's the rule. We're going to give you advice. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to tell you when you said you were going to do something, you haven't done it. I get held accountable. You know, I've had a real crazy year. I'm not going to get into that. I have a real crazy year. And while people understand this, and no, hey, we were supposed to be doing this. What are you doing? Well, I'm going to go do this. And then, but also they say, hey, let me do that for you. I know you got this going on. Let me do that. That type of thing. Those are the type of people you need around you. That's what we're trying to build here. And the thing is, anything you want, you're going to have to build. The idea that the only thing you can get is what somebody gives you is what holds you and locks you into a consistent and permanent cycle of what you're living in life is the idea you got to wait on somebody to open the door for you. Hell, open the door, kick it in, build another damn door, or build a whole new house. But whatever you do, you don't sit there waiting. You get up, you get your head together, and you make up in your mind what you're going to do, and you start building. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not easy. But what I can tell you is if you don't quit, you get to experience some things in life that most people don't. Finally, I'll say what I've said so many times, it's unbelievable, that if you want things in this life that the average person doesn't have, you're going to have to be willing to do what the average person isn't willing to do. It's that simple. The people who get on in this world are those who wake up in the morning and find the circumstances that they desire. If the circumstance doesn't exist, they create it. It's that simple. Not one person that I've mentioned that's a billionaire, that's investors, that I mentioned in the list of people that early in the video, that's better than you. They may have had more opportunities. They may have been born into privilege. A lot of them came from nowhere. Just sit up and got into it and start building. Is there a faster path for privilege? Absolutely. There's a faster path for those who were already born into it. But if you focus on that, you'll never have, because you're constantly looking at what they did. You're constantly giving yourself an excuse internally. Well, they had a head start. I don't give a damn about a head start. What I want is, if you put me in this race, look out. I don't care how far ahead you are. You are going to get the gap closed. I believe in me. I believe in me enough that if you put me in that race, you're not going to stop me from catching you. If I'm in there long enough and you live long enough, I'm coming for you. Now, there's certain things I have no desire for, but if it's something I have a desire for, nobody's stopping me from getting it. Now, here's the thing. I am relentless. It's my one word. Everybody has a one word. Some people love, some people faith, some people whatever. Me, it's relentless. Well, how do you quantify that? If I decide I'm doing something, two things are going to happen. I'm going to get it, or I'm going to die trying. And either way is fine with me. But what will not be said is I quit, I gave up, I folded, I whined, I complained. I'm here to live, not just exist, not just survive, to live. And I'm teaching it to my children. I'm preparing them for their future. I'm doing everything I can. And I want to show you that the way you close the wealth gap is by building wealth and eliminating debt. Not by complaining, not by demanding somebody give you something, not by crying because you didn't have their opportunity. They won't hire you. They won't. Forget all of that. You sit up and you say, what do I have? Well, I'm gonna take this much of it and I'm gonna do this with it. I may not get to go shopping as much for a while. I may not get to go on as many trips for a while. I might not get to do XYZ for a while. But what I will do is I will go out there and build something better so that my subsequent generation will not have to go through what I have to went through, and their generation will be in a much better situation than they are. And then you teach it and you make it a part of the legal structure of your trust that they have to do exactly for their progeny with the trust. Now, what they get once they get their half of the trust, oh well, but they have to create a trust, and half of that trust they don't get. That goes to their child. So you're ensuring that even if Nutty don't act right, your grandson is still going to get something from you. because there are some people who will squander it, and you're protecting it. There's a way to hedge all of this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to learn it. And who knows? Those who have the ability to see long term will see unbelievable results. That's my goal. So again, I hope that this Wealth Building Wednesday was informative, but I hope that you saw the value in the Legacy Wealth Program. I want you guys to be a part of it. On that note, look, I'm getting ready to get out of here. Anybody have any additional questions? There's a way to reach me. You can reach me at ceo@rickwallacephd.link. And yeah, that's a real email, ceo@rickwallacephd.link. Send me any questions that you need for clarification, but don't miss this, because this is an opportunity to do something special and extraordinary. And over the next 6 months, you're going to build new alliances, new networks, a new vision. You're going to develop confidence and awareness. The power of knowledge to build confidence is unparalleled, but you have to engage the opportunity. On that note, look, I'm out of here. You guys, thank you for letting me borrow your time. I know, oh man, I did that in record time. It's just barely over 36 minutes. You know, I can go an hour easy. Okay, thank you guys. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. That's my challenge to you. Are you going to die on E? Are you going to take the opportunities of life and get everything you can out of them? Are you going to take the blows? You're going to get knocked down. You're going to have moments where you're going like, what the hell? And you're going to have all these different things that you have to overcome. But what I'm telling you is, if you're persistent, if you stay in the fight, if you refuse to give up, if you take on my mantra of no surrender, no retreat, I'm telling you that the things that happen in this life will not stop you. That the very definition of the word destiny is it's destined to happen. I heard one time that I heard it explained this way, that the meaning of destiny is that the more you try to stop it, the more you ensure it happens. In other words, every obstacle in your path is simply a part of your destiny. It can't stop you. It can only create greater strength. On that note, look, I'm going to get ready to get out here. Thank you guys for stopping in. Once again, you guys have an awesome remainder of your day.